Welcome to the 5-Element Qigong, Meridian, and Element charts. This presentation will help you better understand the 5-element theory and how it relates to our Qigong form. First of all, what is Qigong? What does it mean? Well, Qi means life energy. It also can translate to breath. And it's pronounced Qi even though it's spelled Qi. It can also be spelled Chi. It can be pronounced Qi or Gi. It can be known as prana, mana, or baraka in different languages and different cultures. So this concept of life energy is quite universal. And Gong means cultivation, work, or practice. So Qigong can be the cultivation of life force energy, or the cultivation and the work to create and generate and circulate this energy. The 5-element theory has a generative cycle and a destructive or overcoming cycle. And so each of the 5 elements has a different relationship with each of the others. And you can see here in this chart, the wood element, the fire, earth, metal, and water back to wood create the generating cycle. And it's somewhat logical. You can think of wood feeding the fire, and then fire, the ashes, will fertilize the earth. And the earth compresses and forms metal. And metal, like pipes, can form and support water or dissolve minerals into water. And water, of course, nourishes the wood. So this is the generative cycle, and this is the order in which we do our Qigong practice. Now, the destructive cycle, or the overcoming one, also is somewhat logical. You can think of metal chopping and cutting the wood. The wood sucks the nutrients out of the earth. The earth absorbs water. Water extinguishes fire, and fire can melt the metal. So each of the elements has a different relationship with the other ones. And of course, each one needs the balance, the checks and balances that each of the other elements provide. So let's begin with the wood element. This wood element is connected to the yin and yang organs of the liver and the gallbladder. When the wood element or these organs are in balance, we can feel a sense of kindness and contentment. When it's out of balance, it can feel like a sense of anger and frustration. So if you think of old wood that's kind of been dead and laying around, it can become fire. It can explode. It can turn to fire very easily. It can be combustible. So you can think of the energy of wood as expanding. Wood is also including all plant life. So think of vines growing and trees growing, and if you watch your plants grow, it's this expansive energy. And the healing sound is shh, almost like the wind in the leaves, the wind in the trees. The expression is to shout. And you can think about when you're angry, there's a tendency and a natural expression of wanting to shout. In Oriental medicine, the wood element is associated with our tendons, where our bones and muscles meet. The season is the springtime. Think of flowers growing and blooming and kind of bursting into life, and the color is green. So in our form, the meridian channel starts here down at the big toe, going up the inside of the calf, inner knee, inner thigh, round the hip, the genitals, up through the belly button, the rib cage, and the blue part is where the energy in the meridian flows internally, all the way up even into the face. So when we do our Qigong practice, we bring the energy up the leg, up the rib cage, up to the head, and then it expands. So you imagine the energy flowing up the ribs, and your liver organ, of course, is on this rib cage area. Now, for all of these meridians, there is a mirror image. So the same exact liver meridian is on the other side of the body in a mirror image. The gallbladder meridian, also associated with the wood element, moves in the opposite direction. And so starting up here, the face, moving around the jaw, the temples, around the scalp, all around the edge of the head, and then moving down through the neck, back of the shoulder, and then across here down the ribs. So you can see how they kind of crisscross, both yin and yang moving up and moving down, across the sacrum and down the outside of the leg. So it's a very long meridian. Think of a tree trunk kind of moving all the way up into your branches. So in the Qigong form, you draw the energy up and you expand it out up into the crown of the head. It can be helpful to visualize this when you're practicing your Qigong. Next is the fire element, and this color of red. The yin and yang organs are the heart and the small intestine. And it makes sense logically. We often think of this fiery personality of being an emotional, a heart-centered type of experience. And this sense of joy and happiness when the emotions are in balance, and of course a sense of stress or impatience when it's out of balance. Like fire, the energy tends to rise, and the healing sound is ha, kind of like laughter. When you experience joy, when you experience an opening in your heart, ha, you can feel ha sound or ha 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 ha, a laughter, and those are sounds that you can experience naturally, but also you can create intentionally through the healing sound practice. You can include the healing sounds as you do the Qigong as well. So the expression of laughter, the body tissue, the blood vessels. So of course connected to the heart, pumping the blood, moving through the whole body. The fiery, the hot season of summer is associated with the fire element and the color red. In the heart meridian, you can see here, so beginning internally, the blue area, and then it comes through externally on the skin through these acupressure points, down the inside of your arm, and moving to through the wrist, palm, and the pinky. So this inside of the arm, where a lot of blood circulation will flow, is where we normally will experience this. And in the Qigong form, wave hands like clouds, this energy is activated and flowing through the hands as you move in wave hands like clouds. The complementary meridian, the small intestine meridian, moves again in the opposite direction. And so located in the similar area around the pinky, a little bit more to the outside, and the outside of the forearm, moving all the way to the shoulder, and then up into the neck and the face, the blue area moving internally. And so as you move side to side with your arms and wave hands like clouds, you can focus in on those edges of your arms and feel the energy flowing through your heart and small intestine meridians. The next element is the earth element. Associated with our spleen and stomach, you can think of the food that we eat from the earth being digested and assimilated in these organs. When this is in balance, we feel a sense of confidence and calm. When it's out of balance, we can have a lot of worries and anxieties, these butterflies in the stomach. Anxiety we often feel physically around the solar plexus, around the stomach. It can affect our digestion. Healing sound is hoo. And this can also have a calming and grounding effect. Also, singing can be a great way to release anxieties and worries. So an expression of song can be a way to tap into the earth element. The body tissue is the muscles, our ability to move, to act, and create. And the season is late summer and kind of between seasons, these periods of in-between or stability. The earth is has a stable and a stillness to its energy direction. And the color is yellow or gold. Connected to the earth element, the spleen meridian, which we practice with the pebble in the pond. And you can see the chart here. Moving from the big toe up the inside of the leg, through the knee, through the hip, and expanding through the front of the body to the collarbone area. So as you move your hands and your legs in a circle, you can feel this sense of groundedness, this connection through your lower body and through your torso, connecting us to the earth. And the stomach meridian moves in the opposite direction. The pebble in the pond is the same movement here. So beginning up here around your nose, under the eye, around the lips, it splits up into the crown of the head, down through the neck, through the chest, through this abdominal area, front of the hip, and you can see that it's very close to the spleen meridian along the legs here. So they track each other. And remember that the meridians also are mirrored on either side of the body. And of course your stomach and spleen are located in the left portion of your torso. And our next element is the metal element, associated with our lungs and large intestines. When this is in balance, when these organs and our health in these areas is in balance, we can feel a sense of contentment, and when it's off, we feel overwhelmed with grief, sadness, depression. So our lungs are this bellow of life force. When we feel down, we kind of constrict and contract our body, and it affects how we breathe, and it can create a vicious cycle. So opening our lungs, breathing well, can really help the way that we feel emotionally in our mood. The energy is condensing. Think of earth becoming metal. It's like carbon forming a diamond. Under pressure, it can become condensed and strong. The healing sound is and of course crying is an expression of sadness and a way of relieving it as well. The body tissue associated with it is our skin and our hair, and this also can have a lot to do with our large intestine. Our digestive system can affect these organs in Oriental medicine theory. And the season is the autumn, the fall, and the color is white. Looking at the metal elements, first the lung meridian. So beginning internally, through here, moving through the chest, and externally you can start here at the collarbone, down the forearms to your thumb line. So tapping around this area can help physically open the lungs, but also help open this meridian as you go down the arm and through the thumb area. So in the form Buddha holds up the earth, you feel a sense of light pressure or a tautness from the thumb line up the forearm as you bring your hands up and down. This movement also will help open your lungs and stretch your large intestine, helping you breathe. And you can visualize these organs here as you do the Qigong as well. The large intestine goes up your right side, across the middle, and down your left. And the large intestine meridian moves in the opposite direction. In the same form, Buddha holds up the earth. So beginning here with your index finger, moving up the forearm, again very close to the thumb, so thumb and index finger kind of tracking near each other, the shoulder, and connecting to this very important point, the C7 vertebrae on the back of your neck, an important intersection of energy that you can open up when you move your arms up and down and release the pressure around your throat and your neck. So as you inhale and exhale, your arms move up and down and the energy flows both in the yin and yang directions through these meridian channels. And our last one is the water element, associated with the kidneys and the bladder. And this also makes sense logically. The kidneys filter our blood, and the bladder is a way to release toxins through our urine. So the fluids of our body are deeply connected to these organs. When our health and when this element is in balance, we feel a sense of peace and confidence. And when it's out of balance, there's a sense of fear. You can think of water when it becomes very cold, it turns to ice, and it can be cracked and broken and sharp. And that's that feeling of fear, this frozenness, this, they say fight, flight, or freeze. It's this fear that holds us sometimes and makes us tight and stiff. So bringing the energy in a descending way, so water flowing downstream is the natural direction water flows. And of course, this is why we need the other elements. Water that only goes down can become very stagnant. It needs the evaporation, the fire element, to circulate and purify. So water tends to want to descend by itself. The healing sound, Chu. This can be a way to send vibration to these organs and connect to that healing energy. Our expression is a sigh or a groan, and the healing sound can be done in that way. Chu. A release of fear and a way to energize and tap into the positive qualities of the water element. The body tissue, the bone, and the bone marrow. And the season where this is most activated and associated is the winter. The colors blue or black. Taking a look at the kidney meridian, here in the water element, this is the fountain. And beginning at the sole of the foot, the bubbling spring, kidney 1 point, the sole of the foot where your ball of the foot and the arch meet, circling around your ankle, coming up the inside of your calf, inner thigh, and then moving up the center of your abdomen and ending here at the collarbone. So the form, when you're moving your hands, you imagine the energy flowing up the inside of your leg, up your torso, and kind of gushing over like water from a fountain when it reaches your collarbone area. And the bladder meridian, moving in the opposite direction, but moving along a similar path. This is the longest meridian of your body, coming from the inner eye over the head and all the way down like a waterfall, flowing across the spine. Keeping that flexibility in your spine is very important, and the hamstrings too, to keep the energy flowing through our bladder meridian. So flowing all the way down and to the outside of the ankle, to the pinky toe. So visualizing these lines as you practice the fountain Qi Gong movement. I hope this has been helpful to better understand the 5-element theory, how it relates to our Qi Gong form, and giving you a sense of visualization and an ability to tap into the deeper meaning of the 5 elements as you practice 5-element Qi Gong. And you can always go to boyoga.com for more information. Thank you so much.